Parler, 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 parler.
Welcome to all of you who have joined us. These talks this week specifically are to kick off my birthday and talk about not just a cause that I'm really passionate about, but also for us to really talk about Ayiti. Let's have some real conversations and kind of set a framework, a mental framework for all of us together so that we feel like this is a safe space, so that we can talk about these issues and that we can look towards solutions. So my name is Dr. Genius, and I have...
Oh, me, Mad Genius, Dr. How you doing? How you doing, guys? How you doing? Good to
Yeah.
be.
And we call ourselves the Genius Team because we are husband and wife and we love each other very dearly, but we also work together. And this has been a space for us to really learn and come into our own. And so we're appreciative of all of you who've decided to join us for these next few moments. All right. So if anyone's here, if you remember, if you're in the chat yesterday, we said we were going to talk about something special. And if you saw one of my posts, what did you see? What did you see? Ooh, this beautiful Queen Ramona. We're going to be talking about Ayiti's future, but also not just Ayiti's future, the past, Ayiti's past as well. So how does the past, the Dahomey Empire, and what we see in Wakanda, how does this help us shape what we would like Ayiti to be like in the future? And so that's the topic of our conversation. And we are going to, you want to kick us right off, Boo? Or?
Sure. So I think one of the first things that we can talk about is the mindset shift. You know, there is sometimes a difficult space to house anything when it comes to our future, when our minds are not safe. You know, sometimes you can't even think past the moment in front of you because your mind is a hostile space. And so the creativity, the ability to forecast healthy understandings for the future sometimes is a difficult task when your mind is all over the place, when your mind isn't safe, and so for us, I think one of our first things that we can do as a diaspora is make sure that our mental space is where it needs to be when it relates to not just our future here, but Haiti's future over there as well. And I think one of the ways we do that is by safeguarding our minds, making sure that the content that we take in, making sure that there's a balance of information that we take in, making sure that some of the news, not all of the news, I'm not a fan of the news at all, but I know some people have to watch the news, making sure that some of the news isn't necessarily getting to you because it's all for a specific reason, to keep you at an anxious and a fearful state. And when you're anxious and a fearful state, your brain isn't necessarily going to function at its best. So that's why I think we should start. Let's start the conversation by talking about where have our mental states been for the past couple of years as it relates to Ayiti.
Right. So if I'm being honest as well, I think that I go in and out, right? And I can give you an example of when I was a kid, because for some of us, we've seen this pattern, right? This isn't new news kind of coming out of Haiti. And I just remember being a little girl, I probably was like about 8 years old. And my dad had just finished coming back from Haiti. And I was like, are we gonna go? And they're like, no, you can't go, it's dangerous. They're kidnapping people. They're doing all these really bad things. Haiti, don't go, don't go. And I just remember feeling so sad. Like I was like, that's my country. Why is it that I can't even go and enjoy, the place my dad can go, but I can't go, right? Which was strange. And I remember telling this to my mother. I'm like, and I remember them talking about how, at that time they were cutting off all the trees because they were using it, and it was the deforestation that was happening. And so the country wasn't looking the same. And they on the news, they were sending a lot of pictures of that. And this is when I was a kid. All right, this is around the Elian time, if you guys remember when they were trying to free Elian. And there was a lot of discrepancies between the Cubans and the Haitians, but it was plastered all over the news. And I remember telling my mom, I was like, you know what I want to do for Haiti? I want to take all the people, and I want to bring them to a special space and let the island just breathe, and let it recover. And then we're all together, in another space in the United States. And then once the island has rejuvenated itself, we'll all come back and Haiti will be a beautiful place. And that's how I felt as a child. Okay.
So what?
So yes, this news of like how things have been has really impacted me. How
Yeah,
about?
our parents weren't wrong though. They weren't wrong in the stance that they took towards not bringing a lot of us over there. So two things come to mind. The first thing that comes to mind is that they will send your butt over there with the
They would
quickness.
threaten you with that.
If, right? Yeah. And so they threaten Haiti as a consequence sometimes, and I think it put a sour taste in our mouth. But the other part about it that is I think is a true statement in their own reality is we have to understand that our parents and a lot of the people that are still there on the island have gone through so much trauma,
Right.
so much trauma that they are different,
Right.
different, and so there's something about being there that there's it's almost like a sense that you have to have. So not everybody can go over there, but it's the same thing over here. I grew up in the city of Opelika in Miami, and not everybody can go to Opelika. Not everybody can go to specific cities and specific places in the United States because your awareness isn't there. Your senses aren't necessarily heightened enough to keep you on alert, not necessarily for bad things, preventing bad things from happening, but you just need an extra sense of consciousness to navigate some of these spaces. And it's not necessarily, like I said, for consequential reasons, but to just live. I was giving my brother the example of just driving over there is a totally different experience. If you go to I was in Oka, driving is like something that happens with a specific sense that they have, because it's like, you almost feel this energy. I can't even explain it. I've heard somebody says that ants have this same type of heightened where they don't necessarily bump into each other. They just, going about their business. And if you zoom out and you look down at a lot of these, what we would call third world countries, all of them have this special sense and this extra sense to where they can navigate and not necessarily cause harm. It's not to say that it's perfect, but they don't cause harm to each other. That's not their intent. Their intent is to just get to their destination as safe as they can, and they do so flawlessly sometimes to our eyes, but for them it's a whole different thing. So I think that there are our parents who warn us about, we can't go. They feel safe there, but they don't necessarily believe that we have what it takes to survive or to thrive in that space over there. So they weren't incorrect totally, but I think they could have done us a service by getting us over there and then allowing us to, to have some relationship there. I know a lot of Haitians that were born here that actually have had plenty of, vacations and time spent over there with good things to say. So, the stories are mixed. It's a mixed bag.
So thank you for framing us in the now and allowing us to kind of see these perspectives of how, nobody's right and nobody's wrong. Everyone is sharing what it is that they're experiencing and how we can choose how we want to relate to the other, right? And so I wanted to start us off. We'll continue the conversation with going back to our rich history. If you have not seen this book, Sheroes of the Haitian Revolution, shout out to Professor Bello. This book is incredible in teaching you, even as an adult, of what went on, and the major players, women who played amazing roles. And I want to show you Toya. It's this bad woman right here. Okay. And we're going to talk briefly about her story, because the Woman King coming out was a game changer, right? It really helped us to see how our ancestors, women like Aunt Toya, were warriors, were kings, were generals in armies. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about Tantoya. So Tantoya was a well-respected general. If you've watched the movie, she was like a mixture between um, um, the Migan, which was played by actress. Her name is slipping me right now. Viola Davis, and who was it that Izogi, that the badass Izogi. So Tantoya was her. So in about 1753, um, some Euro Christians came and they invaded Dahomey, and she actually fought a lot of them off. You know, she fought them off, but unfortunately, she was captured and she was brought to the island of Saint Domingue at the time. And when she was in Saint Domingue, she went to the auction block, just like you saw in the movie. She was on the auction block. They were humiliating her, and as a warrior, that was something that it was hard for her to take. And so when she got the chance, homegirl was out. She dipped to the mountains and she escaped. So she was a maroon, but she knew that she could not do that by herself. So she actually started to go back and start to ask people to come with her. But unfortunately, people were not, um, they weren't about that life. You know, they didn't know how to be a warrior like she was. And so eventually she ran into a runaway woman who was with child, who was about to deliver a baby. And so the woman asked her, she said, please, please take my baby, take my son. And so Tantoya actually helped her deliver the baby, and she made the hard decision to go back to the plantation so that she could have a chance to raise the baby and teach the baby the ways of the Dahomey. And that baby was none other than our first emperor, Jean-Jacques Dessalines. So that is the story of our legacy. Toya, Aunt Toya, shows us that we as women, and even not women alone, but how we together, women and men, can breed a beautiful freedom and liberty within our people, right? If we know who we are, because she had to teach him about the ways of Dahomey. Even though she went and lived in captivity, she made that choice. She was a maroon. She was in the mountains, but she made that choice to go back so that she could raise Dessalines to be the general that he was. So that is our history. That is our legacy.
Yeah. And that brings me to an interesting point, because just being there, being on the island of Haiti, there's something about the energy that is exchanged there, for those who have history there, going there, you just feel a sense of purpose, you feel a sense of energy, you feel a sense of direction, you feel a sense of guide, if you're open to receive it, that is, and so going there, I think, in 2021 and having a chance to see the Citadel, having a chance to see the castle. What's the name of the castle again? But just having a chance to be around, some of the marvels that we created, and seeing and knowing that history, it just puts a fire behind you. Like, yo, this is where you're from. This is what your people have done. And this is what we fought for. What are you doing? How can you contribute and add value to this rich legacy that we have, and so it fueled me to create purpose within, what I do as an artist. And that's where one of the songs that I wrote, Boule, came from. And, and that song has one of the quotes from Dessalines, Koupe Tet, Boule Kay.
Talk about it.
Yeah. So that song actually, was outlined just a small part of the history of the Haitian Revolution. And I thought it was interesting just writing it because I used those books. I used not just that book, I used a lot of those books. And it was just so many different people in those books that I couldn't fit them all in there. But one of the things that I think really sticks out of that story was just how much connaissance, and connaissance is a word that means knowledge, but it also means like wisdom. It means like a knowing, how much of a knowing our people had to be able to maneuver in the way that they did, to create, camps the way that they did, to whether they communicated the way they did, because they weren't all from the same place in Africa, One example I think was in the book, talk about how when they left the meeting of Wakaima, how they were using different stones to count down the days and stuff like that. So all of it was interesting to just see if you decide that you want a different way. There is a spirit that you can align with that will help you get there.
Right.
And so, I think as an artist, I could be annoying sometimes because the intro is so pivotal to me. Saying Koupe Tet, Boule Kay over and over and over and over. I think I go for at least 18 bars or something like that. Just
You say that.
because for me, it's a chant that almost realign you with an idea of what it was really about. It wasn't necessarily about cutting off heads and burning down houses. It was about losing the consciousness of a colonized mind and doing away with a lot of the material possessions that will hold you back from aligning with your purpose. And so that song and saying that, hopefully it can help the mind realign to see there's a greater purpose. And then when you hear that, even in the struggle of being enslaved or, there is still a message in there by the work ethic
Mm-hmm.
they got.
Mm-hmm.
And even the lifespan, the lifespan was so short there, but even their lifespan, to see how much they were able to accomplish and all kept moving, because even though the successful revolt started in the late 1700s, but there were other revolts that were happening way before that. So it's just so much to make you feel so, I guess, powerful, and it just gives you like a sense of journey to go on, like what can we do? How can we still awaken those spirits inside of us? And I know some people, when they hear spirits, they be like, oh, Mpanasa, right? Mpanasa, they want to stay away from it. But we got to learn how to reattach to what our real history is about. A lot of these things would be called modern miracles,
Right.
modern day language. But these people were just aligned with the spirit that gave them purpose, that allowed them to see that it is better to be dead than to be in bondage, And so I think the next revolution is in the mind. We keep talking about that freedom, and I think we got to get free up here. And in order to get free up here, we got to Koupe Tet and Boule Kay, Koupe Tet, Boule Kay,
Let's push it to today, and us being able to see Haiti being represented in a global media space in Wakanda forever. So let's just talk briefly about the significance of Wakanda and seeing the city-wise, seeing the city. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that about comic books that I've always been attracted to was the possibilities
Right.
of what can be thought of, and as a man thinketh, so things will be, and so I think seeing, the two, and seeing Haiti, which is a real space in a fictional world, almost kind of sparks an interest to what possibilities are out there. And there are a couple, online platforms that are already exploring, future history, future Black history, and I've seen a lot of graphics. I even seen a graphic recently of what OCAP could look like in the future, right? They showed a lot of skyscrapers. It's basically modeled OCAP, Port-au-Prince, a lot of the coastal cities are modeled like Hawaii. They're in this nice little cove of mountains. I was showing some pictures to some friends when I came back. I'm like, bro, you couldn't believe how many mountains are just there. Behind every mountain is another mountain. And then you get a chance to see that. It's such a beautiful space. And if you go there, you'll be able to see the unlimited potential. But I think it starts off, like I said, with the freedom of the mind, being able to say, you know what, I can see this future, and I believe that this future is possible.
That's right. And so when we see Wakanda, we get inspired. And so we're going to talk briefly about the framework in these last few moments together of how we can take that inspiration and align ourselves with a message that will help us to take inspired action. Because I think sometimes we would like to jump, right? We're like, or when we see that jump, we get discouraged. And we're like, no, Haiti could never be that. No, that's not the future. It's too much for our minds to think. Yes, that's right. it's too much for our minds to think. So we're going to talk about a framework that we can develop as a people, as a creative, as a family, that will help us to align ourselves with the inspiration of what we can see the future of Ayiti to be like, and to take decisive action now to ensure, because we know that tomorrow is based on today, right? On the present. And so here is the framework. One, we need to dream. Let's not stop ourselves from ever dreaming about what Haiti can be. We need to let the reality of whatever it is, let it be, but also know that we can still dream, that we can still have a thought for the future, for our people and for our country that represents us. Because we're successful, I consider myself a successful person. And if you're out there and you consider yourself a successful person, that means it's possible, right? So one, dream. Two, align. When after you've had that inspiration, make sure that you're taking the time to see what were the hidden triggers that I have. What are the stereotypes that I even bought into about my people that disconnects me from them and makes me feel like, oh, this is an impossible thing. You have to align yourself with a message that speaks to the spirit and the harmony of who you are on the inside. And then three, then take inspired action, do something, invest your time and your energy into either yourself or organizations, groups of people who are doing the work that is solution focused towards our betterment and towards our wellness. And so that's why we're on here. We're on here because I found, and it might not be for you, but I'm hoping, that's why I'm sharing this with you. I found an organization that I truly believe that helps me to dream, that helps me to align with a message that is positive and allows me to take inspired action to see that shared reality. And that organization is called Ayiti Community Trust. Right now, there's a campaign called the United in Legacy campaign, a global walk for Ayiti's future. In June, on June 10th, there will be a walk that will be held in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but you can virtually walk wherever you are in the world. And we'll be doing a virtual walk from the bottom of the base of the Citadel all the way to the top. So it's a certain amount of miles that we're walking in solidarity to as we see that Citadel in our mind, as we see the greatness and the ingenuity of our ancestors, we can also see the future and the possibility that is still latent within all of us. And so check out Ayiti Community Trust. Go to the link in my bio, go to my stories, and make your impact. Share, look, and do research. I always encourage people to do research, find out more, see if there are organizations, not just the one that I'm talking about, but that align with a vision for the future of Ayiti, that believe what we can do.
I have some great news to share as well. You know, after my trip 2 weekends ago, I've already had 2 people that said they want to go with me next time. You know, and so I think that's a really powerful thing to see what's possible, you know, and then once they get a chance to go, I'm sure they can bring 2 more, and then we can keep going over. There are people going over, like I said, the planes are always packed going to Haiti, you know. You just have to see for yourself, you know, and so if you are so inclined, reach out. We can get you over there, you know.
Yes, Ayiti Community Trust every year, every single year, and they'll be going in May. So just do your research, align yourself. First, dream. Please don't ever stop dreaming for Ayiti. Always dream. Align yourself. Make sure your spirit is right and that you understand what's going on with it internally so that you can take inspired action, so that we can join hands together to shape the future of Ayiti. So as we log off, listen, that Koupe Tet, Boule Kay. You see this machete? You gotta do it for your.
If you haven't heard the song as well, it's in my bio. The Boule is in my bio, and I took the picture. You know, the picture that's on the cover. I took it at the Citadel in Milo, and so it's a great song. It's one of the songs that I'm most proud of that I had a chance to create, inspired by my Haitian ancestors, man. You know, speaking through me. So go check out that song Boule on my platform. Link in bio. It's on iTunes, it's on Spotify, Pandora, you name it, YouTube. And so check it out. And we'll see you tomorrow, right? We're gonna come back tomorrow.
We'll be back tomorrow all week. We'll be here from at 5. So please share with your friends, share our bios, and make sure that they're here for the next conversation. We are looking forward to spending more time with all of you and connecting.
All right, blessings, folks. See you soon.
Bye.
Give thanks, genetically born givers. We were the ones breaking bread by the rivers. Many hands make light work in a village that worked. My kids were protected cause they knew their neighbors. I got beans, you got rice. We gon' have a meal tonight. Veggies in the garden, fresh fruit in the morning. Yeah, that was how we once lived. Sisters we would uplift, brothers we would forgive. Give our elders reverence in the building silence. Rites of passage rituals, mental and emotional. It was easy.